Rory was a very quiet kid. He'd smile at you, he'd crack a smile, but he loved the fighting. He loved the war in the room. He loved the beatings that went back and forth.
Firas got me in some years when my testosterone levels were probably going through the roof, and I was like chomping at the bit to fight in every scenario I could.
Man, he was always a guy that I looked at. I'm a fighter, of course, but at the same time, I'm a fan of the sport.
I know that Rory has in him legendary status. He's just now got to focus his mind on preparing himself to show that to the world. And I think he's going to do that in PFL. I think he's going to show the whole PFL world that he's on another level and he's cut from a different cloth.
I think to survive the PFL format, you have to be a hard-nosed individual. You have to be physically capable, mentally capable of pushing barriers to push on and go forward, go after your goal, and be a champion.
Rory MacDonald he's the second greatest fighter to come out of Canada after GSP. There's no doubt about it. He's reached a level that no other Canadian fighter outside of George has reached. George is a fanatical martial artist. Now, I don't use the term fanatical loosely here. George was every day about martial arts, 24 hours a day. He saw something very special in Rory. Rory had that very same fever for martial arts.
Biggest lesson I took away from George was his work ethic. Even today, the guy's work ethic is unmatched.
Early on, Rory had no other hobbies, in my opinion. Like I couldn't imagine Rory doing anything but training. At that time, he was very much like George. He isolated a block of his life. And you can't do that your entire life, but there's a time in your life where you're going to isolate a block of a number of years. And you're going to do nothing but this one thing. Why? Because you want to be the best in the world at this one thing.
Yeah, I remember being, I think I was leaving boxing practice. I got a text message from my manager at the time with a list of names from the matchmaker at UFC who I would want to fight. And I picked Nate Diaz. He was the most well-known guy, so I went with him.
That was a huge fight because Nate Diaz had so many more fights than Rory in UFC, and I think that was Rory's second or third fight in UFC. I can't remember. And I want Rory to fight somebody with 2 or 3 fights also, and just keep growing at a steady rate. I didn't think Rory was going to have trouble with Diaz. I thought he was a lot better than Diaz. I just thought that now he's going to be pushed into the top 15 too fast, too early.
I wanted to be the well-known guy. I wanted to beat the best guy, So if you're gonna give me an opportunity to fight the toughest guy, I'm gonna fight them.
Inside that young Rory, there's a guy in there who loves to fight. Not who has to fight, who loves to fight.
The fight before that, I fought Carlos Condit. He beat me, but I was offered that fight as my second fight in UFC. I think at 19 years old or 20 years old. So, I went after it. And Carlos at the time was the WEC champion when WEC got merged in with the UFC pool of fighters. So it was a huge opportunity. As my second fight in UFC, I jumped on that. I came up short, gave it a good effort, but that was always my attitude, was go after the big dogs,
Man, he was always a guy that I looked at. I'm a fighter, of course, but at the same time, I'm a fan of the sport. And everybody that's been in my weight class, I kind of follow them. Guys that's really good, guys that sticks out. And Rory was one of them. So I always thought about one day fighting him, GSP, those type of guys. And man, when he signed with Bellator, I was like, yeah, this is my chance.